Hello, everyone. I'm Shauna Smith with Yahoo Finance in New York. Today we have Yahoo Finance Editor-in-Chief. I'm so excited I get choked up. Andy Serwer. We also have Miles Edlin. Andy, what's the number one thing you're watching today?
Well, which hot retailer just suddenly maybe hit the skids and is looking to China's digital marketplace for growth?
I wonder if it'll help them. Miles, how about you?
Well, speaking of retail, we talk about one company all the time. I think we all know the name, but there's another stock at an all-time high today that I think we will touch on.
All right, guys. Well, those two stories plus the Bitcoin craze continues, and with new variations of it. Are you ready for Bitcoingold? We'll explain. And one startup moves its operations from Southern California to Puerto Rico. Months later, Hurricane Maria hits. We'll talk to the entrepreneurs about how they're bouncing back and helping the local community. We've got all that plus what the markets are up to today. This is Midday Movers. All right, guys, well, it's the holiday season after all, and all eyes are on retail. And we've got some good news out of that sector today. Costco crushed quarterly earnings expectations. That was after the bell yesterday. Now, the stock's up big, up about 3.5% so far today, and up nearly 21% so far this year. Now, Andy, this was the 14th month in a row of sales gains for Costco. They seem pretty resilient to the pressure, especially from big online giants like Amazon.
Well, they're a real paradigm, essentially. I mean, first of all, they're kind of a cult.
Yep.
And
Yes,
that's number one. Number two, they focus on treating their employees really well. And interestingly, another Seattle-based company, Starbucks, has always said they do that, but they haven't done it as well, quite frankly. It's more challenging for Starbucks, but Costco employees are really part of the team, and that reflects out to the people that they touch, which is the customers. And the other thing is that, you know, we talk about experiential. Going to Costco is something to do.
It is.
It is.
I know
It's fun.
so many couples, like people my age, husband and wife, whatever, spouses, you're going to go to Costco. It's like something to do. If they close down all the stores, Sean, there won't be anything to do.
It's now that
A lot
the
of
kids,
people in the suburbs would be bored on
now that
Saturdays.
the kids are all out of the house. That's my
Right.
parents' main activity every other Saturday morning.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, they're
case
helping
in point.
Costco's earnings here. All right, well, another thing, or one of the main key points of this earnings report that a lot of people on Wall Street were focused on is their membership renewal rates. Now, that actually held steady. They renewed about 90% of the memberships were renewed this past quarter. That's a good sign, right, going forward here as we head into 2018?
Yeah, I mean, to Andy's point about it being an experience, it being a cult, they have an extremely sticky user base. So, you know, once you become a Costco paying member, you basically stay a member. Remember, if you go back to, I think it was about March of this year, they indicated they would increase their rates ever so slightly. So I believe it's $55 now. So, you know, I mean, it's not such a bad membership fee. And you get a lot of, you know, you get that Costco experience. I mean, I think people like being able to go to a store and buy 400 power bars because it's fun and it's kind of funny. And you walk out with a cart full of stuff.
I like that.
Now, of course, here in New York City, we can't really store it.
Yeah,
but
you need
if you're
a
anywhere
Costco
else,
room, right?
you have to have a room
My
for it.
favorite is that giant, I don't know what it is, a tub of those cigar pretzels.
Yes.
You know, like
Yeah.
enough for like
Massive.
a family of 12 for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, guys, how does this stack up against Amazon Prime? We know that Costco has placed a big emphasis here on growing their online presence. Online sales were up about 43% from a year ago, so they're having some success. But do they need to place more emphasis on for their online business in order to continue this growth?
Well, I mean, I think they can sort of push out slowly. You know, this is the whole mantra, which is integration of digital and brick and mortar. And, you know, I don't know how much they have to do it. I mean, I guess ultimately they'll have to do it a lot. But, you know, I think it's complementary with that store experience, Shauna, that we were just talking about. I think that a great majority of people would like to go.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we've done a couple stories about how Amazon doesn't always have the lowest prices. So,
Exactly.
and I'm sure that there's a lot of overlap between people who have Costco memberships and Amazon Prime memberships. And there are a lot of things that you can probably get on Costco for a little bit cheaper, or you can get them in a larger quantity. Remember, there was a great story about how Costco's making their own Kind bars, so you don't have to buy the actual Kind bar. You can buy the private label,
Less
get a little bit
expensive.
cheaper.
Right.
And these are the kinds of things that, you know, Costco offers its members in stores, and their online sales are really just going to benefit from the tailwind of people being comfortable shopping online. I don't think it needs to be a major growth driver for them any more than it would naturally be for any retailer that has a healthy customer base.
And I think that these earnings results are very reassuring to the shareholders because I think there was a lot of nervousness, especially this past quarter after Amazon had bought Whole Foods and just what that could mean for Costco's business. So some good news there. All right, guys, stick around. We're going to head to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange right after we take a check of today's market action, taking a look at the three major indices. We have the Dow up 141, almost 142 points here. The S&P up 21 points, and the Nasdaq is also in the green, up nearly 59 points. All right, also checking in on crude oil, that is also higher, up about 0.5 percentage point at 57.32 per barrel. And Bitcoin, checking in on that price every day, that's at $17,681.
Now, is that a record, you guys?
That I don't think.
I don't think it's ever hit 18, has it?
It has not hit 18.
Close.
I don't think based on the Yahoo Finance composite.
Yeah.
Now on
Which
Coinbase,
is an average of what is it,
60 exchanges.
Yeah.
I think on
We'll
Coinbase
figure it out.
it was higher.
Anyway, it's up and we're green across the board, right,
Over
Shauna?
7% green across the board. So it looks like a pretty strong day here on Wall Street.
Everything we're checking.
All right, for more on this, we want to go live to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange where we have Keith Bliss of Catone & Company joining us. Keith, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
All right, so we're talking about the big gains today in the markets. We have the Dow up over 140 points, the S&P and NASDAQ also in the green. Retail names are very strong today, along with financials, healthcare, and transports. That's just some of the stuff that's going on. We also have big tax news and also quadruple witching options expiration today.
Yes.
All this. What are you keeping an eye on? What will drive the markets into the close?
Well, from a trading perspective, I have to keep an eye on quad witch because we'll get a flood of orders coming in at the end of the day. But really, what we're focused on right now, as it relates to the markets, is what's going on down in Washington, and this is the big move. This is the big story that's impacting the markets today. And Shauna, you may recall, with the last time I was on with you Monday, you tried to pin me down on Dow getting to 25,000. Dow getting to 25,000 by the end of the year, and we're certainly on track to do that. After today, we have 9 trading sessions left, and we're only about 1.5% away from that mark. And if the president gets a bill on his desk next week, he will sign it, and that will likely, put us into kind of a tornado, which will zip the market up to 25,000. So that's really going to be the big story here. You also talked about the retailers, and I have my own opinion on Costco. My wife and I, by the way, call Costco the $200 club because every time we walk in there, we spend at least $200, and it really relates to the. Yeah, that's right. And the reason that is because of the way they merchandise. There's a reason that the bottles of water and the paper towels and the toilet paper are in the back far corner of the warehouse every time you go in there, because then you got to walk past all that stuff because that's what people buy. But anyway, yeah, yeah, absolutely. But anyway, that's the other thing that we're looking at is the retail story as they track into Christmas. There's a couple of reports out today that Americans are buying more than they did last year for the Christmas shopping season. So the feel-good story about the consumer spending a lot of money will impact retailers, will impact tech companies, will impact other consumer good companies. And if you look at the Dow 30 right now, almost every stock is in the green today. But it's really, you see the big moves in things that really are consumer related and consumer driven in their primary business. So that's the main story impacting the markets today.
And Keith, talking about how we're getting closer to your expectation that we might hit 25,000 on the Dow by the end of the year. JP Morgan was out with a call saying that they think that the S&P will hit 3,000 in 2018. Do you think that's realistic? Will we get there?
You know, I lost all perception of reality in this market a long time ago as it keeps going up. I mean, we went from 23,000 to 24,000 in 30 days, and now we're more than halfway to 25,000 on the Dow in, just a few sessions, 13 sessions, I think it is, that we've done so far on that. So it's certainly in the realm of possibilities. Listen, I've maintained for a long time, you've heard me say, is I think the market is set up perfectly for 2018. To continue getting these gains. The tax bills coming in, companies seem to be firing on all cylinders. The consumers are spending money, have more money in their pocket, and everything seems to be coming back around the rest of the globe. And the monetary authorities, whether we think they meddle too much in the overall economies of the globe or not, they seem to be threading the needle here across the board. The one thing that can derail it, of course, is that the labor market in the U.S. is tight, is very tight. When you consider that unemployment rates are at near historical lows. The JOLTS report continues to say that the companies are trying to find 6 million job openings to fill. So what that means is wage pressures will come into 2018. So then the calculus becomes, does the Fed move more than the 3 times that the market thinks it does, or does it move at 50 basis points or a half a point at a clip instead of a quarter point? Those are really the only risks that I see right now because, again, inflation is low, interest rates are low, companies are making money, consumers are spending, they're confident about the future, they have more money in their pocket, and people are buying stuff. That will attract capital into this market. It's just undeniable. Again, capital goes where capital gets rewarded. And right now, that's in U.S. equities, S&P 500, 3,000, 2018, absolutely in the cards.
All right, Keith, and talking about what you were just saying about the Fed raising rates in 2018, they raised them this past week. They signaled 3 more rate hikes next year. Do you think we will see 3, and could we even maybe see 4?
Well, again, that goes back to what I was just mentioning. There is a possibility for 4. I mean, if this, by the econometric models will tell you, and they have some of the best econometric models, that 3 interest rate increases will do it for 2018. But if for some reason some exogenous event happens that we can't foresee, which really heats up the economy even more and puts more wage pressures, and suddenly we start seeing CPIs and PPIs kicking up to 3% and 4% annually, then that's certainly going to change the calculus of what goes on in the FOMC, and therefore they're going to have to raise more than 3 times. But again, the Janet Yellen Fed and the Jay Powell Fed will continue this way, is that they have bent over backwards to telegraph their moves to the market. So if they think that they're going to do 3 moves in 2018, we have to take them for their word right now. And if something were to change in the first quarter or second quarter of next year, and they say we're going to raise at a more step up the pace of doing that, then I think the markets will accept and we'll keep going. Remember, the Fed raising interest rates is actually a good news story for the economy. The problem is if they have to raise them too far, too fast, that's a bad story for the markets.
Hey, Keith, you mentioned today's quadruple witching day, quad witch. I like that. I've never heard that. Do you know that tune? You remember that tune by Donovan, Season of the Witch?
I do.
Okay, good.
Do.
Just checking, because when you said that...
Are you going to sing a few bars for us?
No, I'm not, but we both will later.
I would jump in if I knew it.
Yeah,
but I don't
that's a good one. It's a good one. Take our word for it.
It is. It is.
All right, Keith, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too. All right, Bitcoin. We talk about the craze of Bitcoin all the time. We have prices up again today, up over 7%. But did you know that there's a couple variations of Bitcoin? Now, one is Bitcoin Cash, and the other just launched in November, and it's Bitcoingold. Now, here we have Jack Liao, the CEO of Lightning ASIC, on set with us, one of the founders of Bitcoingold. Jack, break this down for us, because there's already a lot of confusion out there about what exactly Bitcoin is. Now we have Bitcoingold.
What is it?
Tell us about it.
Yeah. Okay, let me share. Bitcoin is the digital currency. It's created about 80 years ago. It's totally burned from the internet. So no backup, no any backup, like the government backup, no asset backup. So all by the consensus. It's a POW, proof of the works, and open source code, and the encrypted account, then gives it credit, trust to Bitcoin by themselves. Mm-hmm. That's why in the past 80 years, the price always rise, sometimes crash, but it will rise again. In the past 3 years, the price rise from 150 to today, 15,000, more than 15,000.
16,000.
Yes, yeah.
So you launched Bitcoingold as a way to almost decentralize the network and open it up for more people, right? So the miners who almost have a monopoly control of the Bitcoin market, that wouldn't be the case with Bitcoingold, right?
Yes, in the past 3 years, the whole Bitcoin community is talking about how to scale Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And there's one fact is most of the hash power today hosted inside China, more than 80%. So the whole community is afraid of this. And some other people say to scale Bitcoin, they prefer to choose a big block. So there's a different way. So we choose to decentralize the mining again to give the power back to the people worldwide, not only the Chinese miners. So the key value of Bitcoin is decentralized. So the Bitcoingold today is the most decentralized Bitcoin fork coin
So to be clear, Jack, so is Bitcoingold backed by gold?
No.
Okay.
It's like the Bitcoin, no any backup.
Right.
Yeah, no government back, no asset back.
Right. Okay.
Just a name.
All right. So how do you play this if you're an investor? Is there a way to do that?
For the investor, if they want to invest to the cryptocurrency, they need to study, take a look in the past 20 years, how internet changed the whole world. They changed the manufacturing, they changed the trading, especially retail. Take a look at what happened to Amazon in the past 20 years. From just one online book store today, they're the biggest in the world. So cryptocurrency, they will change the banking. They will change the whole financial sense, especially based on the blockchain technology.
Right.
And Bitcoingold has faced a lot of scrutiny. There's critics out there that say that they aren't happy, or the crypto community isn't happy. There's major exchanges that are questioning the security, stability, and value of Bitcoingold. What do you say to those skeptics?
This can say, Bitcoingold is we give back the power to the normal people, the small miner, and they are in worldwide. They are the basement of the whole industry. So it means Bitcoingold in the future, more people will trust it because we have no any backup. So if some people, just a small group, just control it, it means there's no credit. Nobody will trust you. The user will leave.
And we've seen huge price value fluctuations. Right now it's at $286. It peaked above $500 right after it launched. Is there any way to help mitigate these wild swings that we are seeing in the Bitcoin market really overall?
Yeah, the whole ecosystem, the new technology, when they expand, it takes time.
Yeah.
More people, they need time to study what's the difference. And more people, they will try to change their way to use or trust Bitcoingold. It takes time. But now the whole infrastructure of the Bitcoingold is decentralized. Nobody can control it. Nobody can just decide the whole policy.
I saw, Jack, by the way, your daughter is back in the green room. Does she own any Bitcoin?
Yeah, I give her some the cryptocurrency.
She's lucky.
Yeah, so
How old is she?
Yeah, it's 9 years old.
Oh, 9-year-old. That's
So she holds on to it. That could be a pretty good investment, right?
When
We stay on this trajectory that we've seen.
When I travel, I will give
not?
some of the coins to my friend. About 3 years ago, first time I go to Silicon Valley, I give every friend say $25. They just keep it, but unfortunately, they lose the private key.
That's a problem. We talked about that.
The New Year's coming, Christmas coming. I will give some Bitcoingold as a gift.
Santa Claus
there
over
we
here.
go. I know.
One person here, one Bitcoingold.
There you go.
Just keep it, but never lose your
Don't
private
lose your key.
That's
Yeah,
the
we know
key
about
there.
that.
I know.
Maybe
Then
nobody
we-
can help you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even me, I cannot. Yeah. It's protected by the mathematics.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very important. You have to know that. All right, Jack Liao, CEO of Lightning ASICs. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, can online shoppers in Asia save fast fashion retail? We've got the details. And the founders of one startup were faced with a big challenge when Made in America became just too expensive. The answer? They headed to Puerto Rico, and now they're helping out the local community. They'll join us in a bit. See you in 60 seconds. All right, welcome back, folks. Well, it looks like Alibaba is turning to electric cars. The Chinese e-commerce giant has bought a stake in the electric car startup Xiaopeng Motors. Now, the move comes after competitors Baidu and Tencent made similar investments in the electric car space. Now, this is the latest bet by the Chinese tech giants Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, which they actually refer to as BAT. That is their acronym. I'd never heard of that before today.
Yep.
All right, guys, does this prove that transportation is the next battleground for these big tech giants in China?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a big war. They've all placed their bets. Tencent has an investment in Tesla, or Tesla, depending on how you like to pronounce it. But those are the big three e-commerce companies, Sean, of course, in China. And they've all got investments in Chinese EV makers, which are essentially the same thing as Chinese automakers, because all of them are getting very quickly into EVs. And so, in some senses, many senses, the Chinese are ahead of us here.
They are. And I mean, the market there is huge for these companies. The online auto market is $15 billion. And that will obviously, I would think, continue to grow over the years. So these investments in these electric cars could really make off, I think, for the companies in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about electric car usage in China and sort of the idea of this growing Chinese middle class. And when you get into these sort of numbers here in the U.S. with 330 million people or so, we can't really comprehend how large it is. When you have 1.2 billion people in your country, you have the potential for the middle class to be basically half of that, so you have 600 million consumers. Certainly the government has been very supportive of pushes into electric vehicles. Tesla hasn't, really they've made some headway there, but I think that would be maybe perhaps a golden goose for them if they could really crack that market. There's probably more growth opportunities there over the next 10 or 20 years than I think there are in the U.S. because there's simply more commitment, I think, from the top down, and that's the way things work in China, from the top down to make electric cars work, whereas here in the U.S., I mean, it's great if Elon Musk could, yeah, right, exactly. Free market, but I got to check with some of my friends first. And I don't think Elon Musk is going to have the same kind of overall backing that, Baidu's push into electric cars, for example, might have.
Well, something that I found interesting when I was reading about this story, have you guys seen the video of Alibaba's car, the vending machines for cars?
Yeah, I love it.
And we have some of this here. It's awesome. So you could actually go onto an app, look at the cars, and then if you have a certain credit score, you're able to go and test drive them.
Yeah, you just either swipe, or if you have a chip card, insert.
It's like an episode of
But this is like one of these, if people who live in cities know, this is like one of these garages in urban areas where the cars are stacked up on with these machines that lift them up and everything. You know what's interesting to me, the electric vehicles, one thing about them in China, though, is that how do you make electricity? Well, in China, you mostly make it by burning coal. Yeah. And so, wow, it's so great they're EVs, but actually it may be that internal combustion engines are better for the environment than electric there.
Well, and I've seen a lot of people make the argument that internal combustion engines have endured for as long as they have because they work and because all the pieces fit together, and that fixing electric cars, how do you maintain them over the life of the car is something we don't really know about, and it might not be easier.
And they've improved internal combustions tremendously, of course.
All right, guys, well, we are watching another Alibaba story here, and that's involving retail. Now, H&M is struggling, and they're turning to China for the answer. The retailer announced that it's expanding its collaboration with Alibaba after its profits plunged in the most recent quarter. Do you think China's online e-commerce market space, will they be able to save fast fashion retail? I mean, it's really struggling right now.
Well, it's interesting. It's a three-headed monster, right? Uniqlo and Zara and H&M. And H&M's from Sweden, and Uniqlo is from Japan, and Zara's from Spain. I love them. None of them are U.S. companies. So I always like to focus on that. And they were, infallible, right? I mean, they were just grown to the sky. Well, it does look like H&M's kind of hit a wall. It's finally, caught up to them. Online e-commerce. And so I thought it was very smart, and they sort of put out this like punk release at the same time they put out. And guess what, though? Never mind that, because we're going to deal with Bob on going to T-Mall. But I mean, it's smart. It's right. That's where they're going.
What do you think, Miles? Do you think it'll be the answer?
Probably not. I mean, look, I think the problem with business model is in the name. It's fast fashion, so it's going to be hot sometimes, and it's not going to be hot, other times. You sort of you live and die by that. I'm sure that H&M in the future will find some way to reinvent themselves such that they become exciting again. But I remember when there weren't really that many H&Ms here in the U.S. It's probably maybe 10 years ago, and it seemed like a cool idea. You go in, you get 10 things for $60, and when I was in high school, it's kind of all you had. But then you wore it twice, and it didn't fit. It broke, and the
fell
fryer,
apart,
and you're
yeah.
like, yeah, well, it was fun the one time, but I don't want to keep doing that.
I didn't know he was such a fashion plate. I mean, I do know, like,
Yeah.
right? But he's
Very
into it,
dressed
right?
to the nines
No one
every
else can
day.
wear a pink shirt.
Not in H&M
Yeah.
now anymore. Yes,
Yeah,
maybe
right.
at some point in the future. You never know.
Right.
We'll see.
Right.
I'll send my kids to H&M.
All right.
All right, well, Kickstarter can be a double-edged sword for entrepreneurs, and it can sometimes lead them down a very different path. In 2016, two Babson students launched a Kickstarter campaign for a non-toxic detergent. Now, they raised $10,585 from 268 backers. That's not too bad. Well, the problem was when they crunched the numbers, they realized that they would lose a lot of money making good on the campaign because their manufacturing costs were so high. Now, Clean Cult co-founders Ryan Lupberger and Zach Bedrosian join us now. Hey, guys, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us
on.
All right, so you knew that you were a new company faced with these orders. Made in America was very important to you, but your manufacturing in Southern California was just plain too expensive.
Yeah.
So what did you guys do? You guys headed down to Puerto Rico, right?
That's correct. Yeah, so we basically were faced with two paths. One path was to move to China and manufacture there, which is what other green companies were doing. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to stay here in the U.S. And then our advisor told us about Puerto Rico. And we really hadn't known much about the island, and it was completely new to us. But essentially what we did is we got accepted to an accelerator there on the island, and we fell in love with it. We moved all of our operations to Puerto Rico. We've now actually partnered with the leading chemical engineering, basically university on the island, and now we've actually hired over 4 Puerto Ricans currently, and it's basically everything is just expanding and exploding because we moved our official headquarters to Puerto Rico.
Now, Puerto Rico's economy has been in a deep recession for many years. We just had the recent Hurricane Maria hit. What is it like to run a business down there right now? What are the biggest obstacles, challenges that your company is facing?
Yeah, well, I think there's two ways to put it, is that on one way they're challenges, but on the other way they're opportunities, is that because we're committed and we have hired, especially from the island, we have a great team there. People stay more, there's better traction, there's better retention with employees. So it's tough because utilities and electricity are almost non-existent, and that recovery has been very slow. But it's an opportunity in the sense that we have some of the best researchers and developers on our team now, basically based in the University of Puerto Rico, Maya West, who are now giving us the most innovative, basically chemical technology on the market that are plant-based. So it's been tough, but it's been really rewarding in the end at the same time.
So you guys have been able to grow your company pretty significantly over the past year. What would be your advice to other entrepreneurs, other people out there, maybe college-age students who are looking to start a company? What would your advice be to them?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is to start small. I mean, originally we did start with a laundry detergent, and using that Kickstarter funding and having the backers get behind us to push the product and the message was really some of the biggest things that we found drove our success and our initial traction. So now we're really launching a full suite of products on the island and moving forward with that. And I think our biggest step that put us in the right direction was starting small and reaching out to our community through Kickstarter.
Hey guys, I think it's amazing you're doing business in Puerto Rico, and I think it's equally amazing, or more so, that there's no power in much of the island, as you said, and it's expected that power won't be back until May. I mean, what's the problem?
Yeah, so I think the main problem in the island is basically corruption with some of the new contractors. It's also, the problem is basically Puerto Rico's relationship with the United States. As if this was a state here in the US, this would already be fixed. But this is more of a political question of what does Puerto Rico stand for. But in the end, I think there's just so many talented people on the island. There's so many talented makers and manufacturers and innovators that doing business there will fix everything. And then the main point is to get more businesses to come to the island and operate like we did. And that even with all of the challenges that the island faces, there's a lot of community and people like us that are doing this. And basically, we think that this is going to eventually fix the problems there.
Well, I think it's a national disgrace, quite honestly. And good for you guys for going down there and continuing to persevere through this. So kudos to you.
I appreciate that.
Really great. Ryan and Zach, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, and Andy and Miles, to you guys as well. Thanks for joining the show today. All right, well, that's Yahoo Finance's Midday Movers. Post a comment below or on Facebook and Twitter. And keep your browser open to Yahoo Finance all day long. We'll see you back here at 3:55 p.m. Eastern on the final round. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.